Warrior, I do now want to weigh in on the whole Epstein saga. I wasn't going to say anything because I have so many thoughts, and I know some of the women that allegedly have been involved, and they've settled lawsuits or they've been part of class action. But now it is a must because everybody's weighing in on it, and people are flapping their lips and saying all kinds of things. And frankly, let me give you my 2 cents. Working, as we do at the Warriors, with survivors and victims of crime, and certainly of all forms of sexual exploitation. So I ask, why now? I really have to say, why now? It's a real mixed bag. We were never going to get, in my opinion, to the bottom of the Epstein story. Jeffrey Epstein is no longer here. This has been going on now for years. We don't know what really happened to him. Some say, did away with himself. Some say he didn't. But I'm here to say that we have to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. Nothing was percolating on this. It was rather quiet, right, on all of this. And then Elon Musk came along and he brought up something about Trump is in the files and started putting that out there. And then we had, I probably don't even have to rehash this for you. Then we had Attorney General Pam Bondi having influencers at the White House hold up binders about Epstein files and Epstein lists, and then everybody was off to the running. But here's what I have to say. We do know that over 1,000 women have come forward. We do know there have been lawsuits, settlements. There has been, well, I dare say, proof of a lot of things that happened. Whether it's the 71st Street home right here in my home base, New York City, the island. We never heard about the ranch in New Mexico. Very little about that. And Bill Richardson, I don't know what happened with that. And Paris, we never really heard about. But we have to remember, people are throwing around the words coming out of Washington and others in the media. Her sentence will be commuted. She will be pardoned. There's even some gossip behind the scenes that she is giving information, but only she'll be giving information, some information, if she gets a full pardon. We don't know the truth. But what I do know about this entire case is that over 1,000 lives, and those are the ones we know about. Remember, a lot of victims, a lot of people do not come forward because they don't want to rehash it. They have their lives, they've moved on, they want to forget, they're embarrassed, they don't want any part of it. So what is going on? We must remember Ghislaine Maxwell. And it is tricky because the Justice Department, Pam Bondi announced nothing to see here. So why is Ghislaine then in prison for 20 years? Well, she's in prison for conspiracy, not sex trafficking. That is what she is in prison for. But now all of a sudden she's claiming nobody ever spoke to her. No, don't you think over the past, during the Biden administration, during first Trump administration, somebody would have spoken to her before they just, had the trial and put her in jail? But we have to remember, many of these women claim that she was right there, part of this environment harming them. Okay, we're a family program, but I think you know what I mean. What about them? So right now, this to me is such an unnecessary, what is going on? Why dredging this up? Because we have no good bottom line here. A lot of people, there's going to be a lot of destruction going on. There is no answer for this. Why bring this up now? Why say Pam Bondi, I guess Attorney General Pam Bondi, nothing to see her, and then have binders, binders and then nothing to see here, and everybody just swirling around? Because remember, low-hanging fruit is what people like for clicks and likes. But I felt like, because we do work with victims and survivors of sexual exploitation, I want to weigh in because I'm thinking about those over 1,000 women that did come forward and all the ones we never heard from. And will she get a full pardon? Because for me, in my Warrior's opinion, this is a mistake. She was documented driving around, a trailer park or two in Florida years ago, approaching vulnerable girls, saying you could make a lot of money. You could answer phones and things. Oh, I can help you go to school and be a masseuse, right? When you have many people right? Telling you the same, sort of the same story. They don't know each other. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's some truth to it. So I don't really understand what's going on, but in no way in HE, you know what I mean, double L, should she just be released. And I have a feeling now the administration is going to do something with her, commute her sentence, release her. I don't know what. But she is still responsible for causing harm. She was still part of this. And I still ask. I don't care they gave their testimony, they were granted immunity. We don't really know. What about all these other people that worked with Jeffrey Epstein? We had so many. His right-hand woman, she's still walking around. And others that, booked appointments, booked flights, booked hotels, took care of the apartment that was here. He kept an apartment by Bloomingdale's on the Upper East Side where some of the women would come under the pretense of models and stay there. What about all those girls that were seen going into and coming out of East 71st Street? The largest single home in Manhattan. It was at one time a school. I remember when it was a school. That Jeffrey Epstein miraculously bought for $1 from Les Wexner, who is the person behind the scenes of Victoria's Secret. I'll leave it at that. So we have a lot of questions. And there's nothing good here because we still have so many victims and so many survivors of these sexual assaults, exploitation, and it's been going on for years. And go back, I leave you with this. And a lot of them, we have had a couple of suicides from survivors. We have had Virginia Giuffre, never going to get to the bottom of that one. We had another woman who harmed herself many times, and we have others. And we have others that are suffering from mental illness, others that just want to put it to bed, so to speak, and they're in disbelief. So we're doing a tremendous disservice right now with all of this. Do I know what's really going on? No, but I leave you with Jeffrey Epstein's not the only one. Wasn't the only one. Ghislaine Maxwell. What can she offer now all these years later? So she can get out and go sit. I was never even convinced. Now, again, I have no proof of this because recently we saw a picture of her, but with AI and Photoshop and all of that, who knows what's real, what's not. But I was asking prior to this, many times I was asking, how come we never see pictures of Ghislaine, walking in the prison yard? And I'm telling you, about a week later, I started seeing pictures of Ghislaine walking in the prison yard, from this long lens. But what is going on here? People want answers. A can of worms was opened. We're never going to get to the bottom of this Jeffrey Epstein horror story. Why was it allowed to go on so long? How many were complicit? And with that being said, remember, if you take a picture with somebody, that does not make you complicit. Plenty of people jump in pictures with celebrities. They wait at the Broadway door. I saw it so many times just to jump in with a cast member. That does not make you complicit to a crime. Keep that in mind. But I do have to ask, people now keep talking about Trump. Where's all the talk about Bill Clinton? Let's be equal here. What's going on? So we'll wait. We'll see what happens. But keep in mind, victims, survivors of sexual assault, exploitation, that's trauma that stays with you for your entire life. It doesn't go away. You're not saved. You're not cured. I don't care what anybody tells you. Trauma is trauma. And it, comes out. We've dealt with at the Warriors 10 years later, 20 years later, 40 years later. Let's see. But don't jump on the bandwagon, even though I am because I made this video. But I just wanted to, add my 2 cents because this is a ridiculous thing going on now. This was quiet. There were settlements. There were lawsuits. There were class actions. People wanted to move on, so to speak. Not that we should ever not dig deeper, but all of a sudden it seems like Ghislaine is in the driver's seat. We want to put the victims and survivors in the driver's seat. Stay tuned. We'll be following at lynswarriors.org. Thank you always for following along. Share videos. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. We want to build algorithms. We want to get on top of everything, bring you information you may not know. But I ask you, I leave you with, why was this allowed to go on for so long?